Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty, the first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report. I am your host, Butch Theory. We have a good show lined out for you guys. Mobile Boat Show went great this weekend. I got to get down there and see a bunch of people and look at some fancy boats. Didn't buy anything, unfortunately. I had the wife with me, and you know how that goes. Well, before we head down and get our first report of the day, Blakely Ellis over at CCA Alabama asked me to give you guys some upcoming information. He's going to do another tagging seminar Saturday at 2 o'clock at the Wharf Boat and Yacht Show. Also, if you sign up for the Star Tournament this weekend and go by the CCA booth, you'll get a free rope handle bucket. And make sure you go to joincca.org to sign up for that Star Tournament. It's going to be a great event. Contact Blakely to get all the details. Well, I'm riding solo today, guys, so I won't beat around the bush. Let's go ahead and get straight into this thing. But first, let's see what's making the show possible. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report is brought to you by Sportsman's Marine. Sportsman's Marine has an extensive tackle selection of anything that local anglers need for saltwater and freshwater fishing, as well as boating accessories. They have the largest selection of the slick lure in Mobile and Baldwin County. They have AFTCO, Pelagic, and Saltwater Fanatics apparel along with other local brands. Go check out their Edgewater, Wellcraft, and Vexus lines of boats. They offer engine services with 5-star Yamaha and Mercury mechanics. Also, if you're looking for a street-legal electric golf cart, go check out their Atric golf carts. Sportsman's Marine on Highway 98, and they also have a downtown location next to Mr. Jean's Beans in Fairhope, Alabama. And also brought to you by Boaters List. Boaters List is your new reliable and fast resource designed to link everyone to everything on the water. If you own or run a boat, you know how difficult it can be to find the right company for the task at hand. Boaters List makes it easy to find the service that you are looking for. Locate anything from fuel docks to service repairs or rentals of large yachts, even down to paddle boards and all things in between. BoatersList.com will always strive to make it better on the water. And also, Bahio Sunglasses. Want to catch more fish? Experience the clearest lenses on the planet with Bahio sunglasses. Because you'll see more, you'll catch more. It's as simple as that. Try on a pair at your local retailer or check out BahioSunglasses.com to witness the magic for yourself. Bahio is an independent, sustainable, carbon-neutral sunglass company based in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Experience the clearest lenses on the planet with Bahio sunglasses. Try on a pair at your local retailer or check out BahioSunglasses.com to see for yourself. All right, let's head on down to our first report of the day. We're going to hear from a new contributor. We have Blaine Roberts. He is Perdido Blaine. Let's see what he's been up to this week. All right, Blaine, welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report, man. Tell us a little bit about Perdido Blaine, where you frequent, what you catch, and kind of what you specialize in, man.
Awesome. What's going on, Butch? Yeah, I'm really about 8 minutes from the Alabama state line. That's where I live, Perdido, Florida. So I'm crossing into Bama on a weekly basis, fishing around there, especially with the Pompano coming up. The Spanish are going to start running. I'll be around the jetties a lot. My family owns a condo down Fort Morgan Road, so I've been down there quite a bit. We haven't been able to get in it since Sally. It's just now gotten repaired since Hurricane Sally. So, I mean, we were out of it for almost 2 years, man.
Wow.
So it's nice to have that little fishing headquarters. And I mean, it's seriously like 2 miles from the fort. So it's down there at the end, nice and secluded. Been doing a lot of scouting down there. I've fished down there 3 times, late last week, over the weekend, and into early this week. So had a really good day one day out there. And then yesterday with the storm that came through and really, man, the spring breakers too.
Yeah, that's always a factor, right?
It's very crowded down there.
Golly, already, huh? Middle of March.
You know what? We're lucky because we are down there at the end of the Fort Morgan, so it's more families and things like that.
Right.
A lot of wildness going on. It's still crowded. You know, coming out of the winter, beach fishing. You know, even though it's tough, it's secluded.
True.
there's basically nobody out there but me. So it's going to be an adjustment.
For sure, man. Well, it's just like you say, it's just getting to be that time of year, and that's something that beach fishermen just have to contend with pretty much on a regular basis, especially moving forward, you know, this time of year.
And I don't mind it at all, man. I don't mind the spring breakers and the tourism and all that. I mean, it's great for us. Oh, yeah. You just have to adjust things. Usually I'm like early morning, I get in and out of there before anybody really even gets going. Especially here in Perdido, like a good sign for me is when they start setting up the beach chairs. I know I got about 45 minutes left.
That's right. That's your alarm clock to get out of there.
That's my alarm clock. Yep. And so that's what it turns into, man. Over the spring into the summer is just early morning fishing, in and out, and I'll spend the rest of my time on the kayak in the backwaters, man.
Gotcha. So you mentioned you've been fishing in Fort Morgan the past few days. Just kind of walk us through, what you've been targeting and what's been working, and just walk us through the past couple of days you've been over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So over the weekend, beautiful clear water. We were targeting whiting. My brother and I were out there, and we're able to get on them. Super up close. I always start off with 4 rods, and I stagger them. We'll call it like east to west. So my most eastward rod, I kind of throw shallow and then just get deeper and deeper as I go down the line.
Sure.
Figure out where they're hitting, figure out what they're hitting, so obviously I'll have different baits on different hooks and kind of try to determine a pattern. And you can do that pretty quick when they're active. Once I find a pattern, I bring the rest of the rod into that depth, whatever it is, and switch up bait, switch up float colors if I need, things like that. So, over the weekend, we were able to get on some up close, pulled in some nice keepers, and then successful day, I would say, surf fishing. It's always nice to get what you're targeting. And then we tried it again yesterday. The weather cleared up yesterday, and I thought it was going to be great. The harbor, the bayside, the harbor, the bay was nice. And the Gulf was an absolute washing machine.
Yeah.
I was throwing 4-ounce Spudniks out, and they wasn't holding.
Oh, wow.
so it was short-lived and super, super dirty water. And actually, I got out this morning and just ran down to the beach here in Perdido. Again, I'm just a few miles out of Alabama, and the water's pretty dirty here too. The surf had calmed down. Yeah, the surf had calmed down. It looked catfishy, brother.
Yeah, incidental water looking. I understand that.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, dude, I don't want to just sit out here and deal with catfish all morning. I'm gonna go hang out at the tackle shop for a while.
Yep, I understand that, man. Well, great. That's a great run through. Whenever you're talking about these whiting rigs, what's your favorite kind of setup? I know you mentioned changing out floats, but what's your ideal rig for a whiting? Are you using a two set rig or a one or?
Well, and that brings up a great point, because when we started out, I was just throwing pompano rigs, double drop pompano rigs, a variety of different floats, and they were hitting, and it seems like they were just pecking and getting spooked. And I'm seeing a pattern of the trout being very spooky in the backwater, man. You can get on the trout right now, but they are just so skittish, man. Just to give you an example, I spent 2 days back to back on the kayak, probably 5 hours at a time, and caught 2 trout, and they were all around me, brother. I could see them. I could see them hitting. I could see them swimming. And no matter what I threw, they didn't want it. I basically pulled in one each day. So I think just maybe with the transition of the seasons and all that's going on, the weather, the abrupt weather changes, I feel that the surf fish were spooky too. So what I did was I pulled off all those double drop rigs. I tied a real simple single drop, one little bead, small little number 1 circle hook, and was able to get on them like that. Just scale down the tackle. 2-ounce pyramid. Probably could have got away with a 1 ounce because I was fishing so close. And just at that point, I'm fishing maybe 2 to 3 rods, but a big spread, because you're with those real light pyramids. Sometimes they do tend to drift, and they'll kind of get tangled in your other line. Especially if a bigger whiting hits it, it'll run with it. It doesn't have anything to hold it back. So to avoid that kind of tangled and all that, I'll eliminate a rod at that point and do a bigger spread with the sand spikes. And we were able to get on them. Man.
Very cool, man. That's a great report. You thought about a tip at all for our onshore listeners this week?
Yeah, man. That's what going back with the scale down. I just kind of stay aware of everything that's going on. There's seeing all those trout popping and seeing those trout swimming and just them not wanting anything I had. I'm like, these guys are spooked.
Right. Super
so
spooky.
I kind of just took that mentality to the surf. And I didn't think about it right away, obviously, because I was using double drop rigs, very colorful, and a lot of lines in the water kind of thing. And I thought about that. I was like, let me scale down. Let me eliminate some rods. Let me be more discreet. and it seemed to work. So really, I'm going to keep fishing that way with the lighter tackle. I'm talking about 10-pound fluoro too for the leader.
Wow.
So I went from 20 on the pompano rigs to I scaled it down to 10-pound fluoro. I didn't even put a clamp on for the pyramid. I just tied a little loop knot just to eliminate as much hardware as possible.
Sure.
Yep. So basically all I had on was a little bitty swivel, that hook, one bead as far as hardware. And then I just, threw that little pyramid weight through the loop. I was able to get on them, man. My brother pulled in a stud fat 14-incher.
Nice.
Which is a good size for a whiting.
Oh yeah. Very cool, man. That's a great report and that's a great tip. You book charters, right? You do guide trips off the beach?
I do, man. I do guide trips off the beach. I do kayak fishing guides, and I also do overnight primitive camping, kayak fishing, catch, clean, and cook kind of thing.
Very cool.
Yeah, with the kayak guides, I have Old Town pedals that the clients use. Basically, all they need to bring is a Florida fishing license or an Alabama fishing license, depending on where we're fishing. Same with the surf fishing. Just show up, and I provide everything else. You can find all that information at PerditoBlaine.com. I'm also uploading to YouTube bi-weekly. Usually I upload on Thursdays and Sundays. So if you keep up with that, Perdito Blaine on YouTube, you can kind of see what's going on in the area also. It's a little staggered. If I fish and film on the Wednesday, that video would come out Sunday. You know what I mean? So it's a little staggered, but it's pretty accurate at what's going on, and you can get video of it. You know what I mean?
For sure. Awesome, man. Well, we definitely appreciate you having the report this week and being on the show and sharing your expertise with our listeners, man. We look forward to hearing from you next time. Yeah, man. I was honored y'all reached out, man. I appreciate it, Butch. All right, folks. You guys check out PerditoBlaine.com. It's always good to have some good new insight on the podcast. And take a quick break and hear from a few of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Fishbites. For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing that nothing says no to: Fishbites. We are the Fishbites Nation, and this is your invitation. So grab some Fishbites and get busy casting, because you can't join the nation without doing the catching. Ask for Fishbites or Fight Club lures or visit fishbites.com. And also brought to you by Fishing Chaos. Fishing Chaos recently announced the launch of its new club module and a partnership with National Scouting Report to significantly enhance exposure, recruitment, and scholarship awards for high school anglers. NSR announced last month the addition of fishing to their already successful sports recruiting program. Fishing Chaos invites all high school fishing teams to create a free club on the Fishing Chaos platform. Clubs can hold tournaments within the high school team or invite rival clubs to compete in CPR, catch photo, release events, as well as live weigh-in events, as Fishing Chaos supports most any tournament formats. The addition of the new Fishing Chaos Club Management module allows coaches to easily communicate with the team about upcoming events. It automates the tracking of Angler of the Year or Team of the Year standings and collects angler results. Fishing Chaos will play a key role in recruitment by collecting data on tournament finishes. NSR will build angler profiles based on these results and other criteria important to college programs. If you're interested in setting up a free team club or a tournament, please contact Fishing Chaos today at fishingchaos.com or call Jesse Wilson at 256-508-1853. All right, guys, before we head on to our next segment, we're going to go talk to my partner over at the Northwest Florida Fishing Report. This weekend's not going to be so great for fishing and getting your boat back out onto the water. It's a good time to be thinking about what you need to get ready, what you need to repair for the upcoming season. If you hadn't been trailering your boat all winter, it's time to be looking at some things, greasing those hubs. You don't want to be that guy that's stuck on the side of the road and not make it to the launch in time. Let's go talk to Joe, and we're going to talk to Brandon Starkey at Easy Loader Trailers.
What's going on, Butch?
Oh, man, just looking forward to get into this. I don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean?
I have been that guy. I'll tell you a funny story.
You have bad luck with trailers, so this is going to be a good segment for you.
I have had bad luck with trailers, but coming back, it was actually when I was in college. It wasn't a boat trailer. It was a little utility trailer, and, it was one of those deals where I was moving out of one place, moving into a new place when I came back in the fall. So I'm cruising down I-65 to Mobile, and I'm going about 75 miles an hour. I got everything I own in the little utility trailer behind me. And all of a sudden I hear this crazy noise, and I look to my right and I see a wheel, like a tire and a wheel just rolling past me. And I look back behind me, and there's sparks flying up from from the trailer, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So
Didn't you set the interstate on fire, actually?
I may have set the interstate on fire. In fact, yes, I did set the median of the interstate on fire. It was quite the spectacle. Fire trucks, and then what was really crazy is that damn trailer tire ended up taking out like 3 other cars. I mean, one tire took out 3 other cars, literally out of commission, tow trucks. Like we had 4 tow trucks on site because of a burn up hub. And yeah,
not good.
You do not want to be that guy. You especially don't want to be that guy when you're trying to go fishing. So
no doubt.
Yeah, let's go check in with Brandon, and we're going to learn today what you really need to, the main things you need to inspect before you take your trailer out this year. Brandon, welcome to the show, man. Tell us a little bit about what you do at Easy Loader Trailers and a little bit about Easy Loader.
Well, it's nice for you guys to invite me on the show today. I'm the engineering manager for Easy Loader Boat Trailers. We produce custom boat trailers and adjustable boat trailers. We have 2 divisions. One of them is basically adjustable at the dealer level, where we offer a trailer and then trailer adjusts itself to the boat. Our other division is a custom division where we one-off design each boat or each trailer to fit each boat. So that's kind of where I'm at. We do a lot of OEM or factory level customers. We do some dealer stuff too, or some replacement trailers for, boats that are in, 10 years old or something, where the trailer's in an accident or the trailer falls out and they want to upgrade to a better trailer. So that's kind of what we do here.
Yeah, very cool. So, I mean, you guys are designing trailers as best as you can to hopefully not have to need much repair, not have to need much maintenance, but inevitably, especially when you start talking about marine environments, dealing with saltwater and things of that nature, you're going to have some things that over time, they're going to wear down. So if somebody's wanting to get on the water, coming out of the winter now, we're getting into the spring, and they're wanting to get on the water and they want to go out and inspect their boat trailer to, number one, just make sure that they're not going to be left stranded, set the interstate on fire, do something that's somewhat catastrophic. What are the very first things that we need to inspect?
First thing I would start with is checking your tires. So I would check the air pressure in your tires to the recommended air pressure on the tire or on the VIN tag. That recommended air pressure varies by the tire size that's on your trailer. And the recommended air pressure is located on the sidewall of the tire. And it also states the capacity of the tire, or it's located on a placard next to the VIN tag on your trailer. And that's important because the tires are designed to carry a specific load, and that specific load relies on the pressure that the tire is rated for. So if your tire says that it'll carry 1,500 pounds at 15 PSI max, then that's what it's rated for at 50 PSI. If you run your tire at 30 PSI or 45 PSI, then your tire's not carrying all the weight that it needs to be. And that's going to lead you to, possible tire failure. But what it's going to lead you to most is irregular tire wear, swaying, hard pulling on your trailer, things like that. Another thing you want to look at for your tires is you want to look for any chalking or dry rotting or anything on the sidewalls for sitting long periods of time.
Yeah.
And other things is that your tires can actually get out around if say you don't use your boat for 6 to 9 months and it's sitting on concrete in a storage building somewhere, there's a possibility that your tires will get flat spotted too.
Oh yeah. I've definitely felt that with some of my equipment that sits up for a while. That first few revolutions, you're thumping down the road, you can feel it. Let me take you back to the PSI, the air pressure. Is that additive? What I mean by that is if you've got a tire that's rated for 1,500 pounds and then you've got 2 tires on your trailer, does that mean you're rated for overall 3,000 pounds? Or
that is correct. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
So you need to be looking at tire. So if you've got a single axle trailer, then you're rated at 3,000 pounds on your tires. If you've got a tandem axle trailer, then you'd be rated at 6,000 pounds. That's kind of how that works.
Gotcha.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so tires are the connection to the road, right? I mean, we gotta have them aired up, gotta have good quality rubber there, no dry rotting and things of that nature. What's next?
Well, the next thing on that is I would go for your highway fire and check your bearings.
Yeah. Sorry, guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about bearings, there's a lot of different ones out there. I mean, the trailer that I was talking about, it had the old style, you pop the cap off, you were repacking them yourself. We see the buddy bearings, we see sealed bearings. I mean, what types of bearings do y'all manufacture on I guess just kind of run through the different ones, and then also, what we're looking for there to determine if it's time to repack them.
Yeah, actually we pair the bearing to the application. So we use everything that you just rattled off.
Mm-hmm.
On, say, like on a pontoon trailer that a guy may take his boat to the lake and leave it there and then just put the trailer back in storage. We may have just the hubs on there with the grease stirred on the end where, you pump a little bit of grease in there when you use them and you go on. Saltwater will have a sealed system or maybe even a pressured system that keeps moisture out of the bearings. It just, like I said, it depends on your market. But primarily our two top shelf bearings we have is we use a hybrid oil bath or we use a straight oil bath, depending upon the application. Your hybrid oil bath is pretty much a grease. And then when it gets up to operating temperature, it turns into more of a liquid, kind of like an oil bath.
Gotcha.
And then, your oil bath, of course, is just straight oil. We also have a system that puts a positive pressure on there that keeps moisture out of the bearings. So it'll keep like 5 PSI of positive pressure inside the hub, and it keeps the moisture and water out of your bearings. A lot of times, if you think about it, if you travel a long distance to the boat ramp and you don't have to wait in line or anything, and you're pretty quick at taking your straps off and launching in that, your hubs and bearings may be still at operating temperature when you dunk them in the lake. And what that's going to do is possibly create a little bit of a vacuum, and it's going to suck water into your bearings. So that's one thing to look at, is if you do just have the grease hubs, then you might want to wait a little bit for them to just cool down a little bit before you get them in the water. Or when you use them, you may want to give them that shot of grease when you're putting it away or whatever, just to make sure that everything's still good in there.
That's a good point. I mean, Butch, I always, when I'm greasing hubs, I'm usually doing it before I get on the road. It sounds like I need to be doing it when I get home.
Brandon, the way I check my hubs or have previously, you go a little bit down the road and you stop and make sure your straps are on tight if you're going a long ways, and you just feel the hubs to see if they're warm.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you said that, you have the 5 PSI. Is that how you check them? Like I know you said there's several different types, but how do you, before you get going, how do you know that they are okay to go?
Well, you just by maintenance, like you said. I mean, there's some out there that have an air gauge that you put air in. Most of them, by design, it'll build that pressure inside. There's a couple of them on the market. Dexter makes 2 of them now. One of them they call the Vault, and one of them they call the Vortex, and it's basically a self-sealing unit that does that.
Sounds like they've come a long way since the older trailers that I've had and the one you set on fire, Joe. So that's good news.
Right. And they call that maintenance free sometimes too, to where they'll say maintenance free hubs, no maintenance or anything, or you can buy a 5-year warranty or an extended another warranty on it. And that's kind of what it is. It's a self-contained system. Very so cool. It is kind of low maintenance free. But another thing you can do that you can look at is when you're wiping your boat down, if you get behind your wheels and you look at where your seals go on your axles, sometimes you may have a star pattern of grease on there or something like that. That's a sign that you're going to maybe need maintenance here in the near future. That's the first thing you're going to see is it's going to start slinging grease out of the back of that seal.
I'm glad you said that, because I've heard guys say actually conflicting things about the bearing buddies and those types of
systems.
Systems. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. And I've heard some people say that pressure can blow the seal out itself if you're putting that grease in. And so what you're saying is, if you want to inspect that, if you start seeing maybe grease anywhere, that's probably a good indication that seal is either failed or getting close to failing.
That's correct.
That's a good opportunity to go ahead and get that trailer in before you have
get on top of it for sure.
Yeah, before you have that failure.
And back years ago, that might constitute for a spindle replacement or something like that, where there may be a groove bore on the back of that spindle. Technology nowadays is there's, for lack of better term, stainless steel hats that fit over the spindle that the seal rides on. So that's another thing, is that's serviceable now, especially with the Easy Loader product, is unless you have a straight bearing failure where you get hot and you seize the bearing to the spindle and then it's grooved on the front of the spindle and the back of the spindle, then maybe you have to, get an axle or a spindle. But if you catch it before it gets too bad, then we have parts to where you could service it, where you may not have to buy that spindle, that expensive spindle or that expensive axle, because you basically put a sleeve over it.
Yes, sir. So we're kind of triaging here the vital parts. Sounds like we got our air pressure. Sounds like we have our hubs and our bearings checked. What's next on the list?
Well, next on the list, I would check your lights. Well, maybe not. I'd probably check your brakes.
Brakes seem important.
Yeah, brakes
seem important.
like you say, I mean, if we're trying to prevent a real
From being
issue,
stuck on the side of the road.
yeah, I mean,
right?
lights, if you don't have lights, you could have somebody definitely rear end you. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen from not having lights. You could get a ticket, but most likely it's not going to leave you on the side of the road unless they cause an accident. Whereas brakes, definitely, Butch, another thing comes to mind. I mean, pulling the Dorado behind my truck, coming through Bankhead Tunnel one day, was coming down that big hill going into the tunnel, and all of a sudden traffic had just stopped inside the tunnel, locked them up. That boat started pushing me, like you could feel the anti-locks kicking on. The boat started pushing me, and then the surge, I had those surge brakes on that trailer. That surge happened and it locked them up. And you could hear them barking back there. And that day I was really, really happy that my brakes worked for me. Are y'all noticing a trend here with me and trailers?
Yeah, I know. I've known you for a long time. I know your problem with trailers.
You don't want me to pull your boat to the launch for sure. So yeah, when we talk about brakes, what can we look for, Brandon? I mean, I love that tip about looking for grease. That's going to help me for sure.
For brakes, you could look at a few things for brakes. Before pulling it down the road, you can look for fluid levels. You could look at your brake pads as far as wear on your pads. You can look at fluid levels, things like that. You mentioned surge brakes, which most boat trailers have surge brakes on them. A lot of trend is we're going to electric over hydraulic now, but majority of them still surge brakes. Big thing on surge brakes is you're going down the road and you feel a lot of banging or sloppy to where there feels like there's slack in your tongue. Then there's more likely possibility that either your hydraulic system's not working, so you've got a brake leak, or you've got moisture in your brake lines or something like that, or sometimes they have shocks inside the brake actuators to reduce the resistance and reduce the bang. You may have a worn shock. There's a couple things that go on there.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, because like that exact thing has happened to me in the past. You'd be at a stoplight and you'd take off from the stoplight and you just feel that thunk, that boom, So that's an indicator you've got an issue somewhere in the system. Check your fluid first. That's the easiest thing, right? You check that fluid. And if that doesn't solve the problem, like you said, you've either got air in the lines or something else you mentioned is a hydraulic. I mean, that's something that's going to be out of my ballpark. I'm taking it to the trailer shop at that point.
For sure.
That's what I'd recommend too. Take it to the trailer shop at that point. But you go back to the heat. This possibility that if you have a brake caliper that's sticking a little bit, your hub's going to be a little bit hotter just on that one hub, and then you'll have to diagnose between, do I have a bearing failure or do I have a brake caliper sticking? Is my trailer pulling? Can I feel drag on one side of it? That's a lot of things that you need to look at too. And then from the flip side of that, you can also look at, can I back my trailer up? That's something that I get a lot of customers that say, well, I can't back my trailer up because my brakes are locking up. So on disc brakes, mainly, the pressure works in reverse and it works in forward. They have a solenoid inside of them that works off of your backup lights on your tow vehicle. And what that does is when you put your tow vehicle in reverse, it opens up a bypass on your brake line and then basically keeps the brake fluid from going to the brake caliper, and your brakes don't engage. So that's how you can back up with your disc brakes.
So that surge, if that's not working correctly, it's just a mechanical
system.
If
that solenoid's not working, then your brakes are locked up and you're trying to back up and your trailer's not moving.
Interesting. All right, so we got our brakes in check. You mentioned lights. Is that next on the list?
Lights is next on the list.
Man, lights can be so frustrating, Brandon. I mean, like, it just seems like you almost can never get them right. I mean, it seems like there's always something. What do y'all do to try to deal with marine environments when you're, when you're wiring a trailer? I mean,
we try to heat shrink all connections. That's the number one thing. We put dielectric grease on our plugs from the factory, like our 7-way or 5-way or 4-way that plugs into the truck. We offer holders on the trailers to keep the moisture and stuff out of the plugs. So like when you're done, you can put your plug in a holder on the front of your trailer, and it covers it, completes it. Grounding's a big problem on boat trailers. Sometimes you have self-grounding lights. Sometimes you have a ground circuit in a trailer. Just depends on the manufacturer and how it's wired up.
So it sounds like if we get out there and one or all of our lights are not working, it could be any number of those things. It could be a bad connection.
That's diagnosing.
The first thing. You kind of just trace the connections. Then we're going to go all the way up to where the plug inserts into the vehicle, and that plug can get fouled, is what I'm hearing you say. You can have moisture, it could have sediment. Is there anything somebody can do? You talked about greasing those hubs when you get back from a trip and having a holder. I'm sure not everybody's got one of those plug holders on their trailer. Is it good to put a little dielectric grease in there? And
yeah, it does not hurt it at all. And another thing you need to look at too is you need to look at your truck. Do you have a fuse blown in your truck? A lot of times now your newer vehicles will have dedicated fuses for your trailer lights. So they'll have fuses for turn signals, they'll have fuses for running lights, fuses for brake lights. And if you have that, that wire corrosion inside your rail, or you have that ground that's bad and you have a fault enough to pop a fuse in there, then if you don't check the truck, you're never going to find what's wrong with the trailer.
Right. Yeah.
So
simple things first, right?
Too is, it's not always the trailer.
Right.
Especially if a guy that works construction or whatever that hauls 3 or 4 trailers, then he hooks onto his boat and his trailer lights don't work. Check your truck.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, got the lights figured out. What's on the next on the list?
Well, next on the list, we're going to get to accessories. Then, we're going to check our straps. We're going to make sure our straps aren't rotted out. We're going to check our winch, bunk boards. We're going to check our fasteners on our bunk boards. A lot of times, when we wrap the full wrap carpet, you never see inside the bunk boards. Sometimes that full wrap carpet holds a little bit of moisture in there. You get in the hot sun areas, you get, down in the Gulf Coast, or you get out in Arizona in the desert, you get in hot sun areas where you get that moisture and the boards are warping or things like that. You're pulling fasteners out of them. So check bunk boards. I like to check the bunk boards after you launch your boat. Then you don't have your boat on it. You go around, you can pull on your boards. You can make sure that they're good, make sure they're not springy or anything. Make sure your carpet is good. You don't want your carpet wore down to your wood to where it hurt the gel coat on your boat, things like that.
And having that boat off the trailer, I imagine that's also a good time to go back and check those bearings again. You mentioned looking for grease, and that's a visual thing. But if you can jack that trailer up, right, giving that tire a good wiggle and seeing if you got a lot of slop there, that can be an indication of those bearings getting close, right?
Exactly.
I've been seeing some like plastic or vinyl type bunk boards. Do you think there's pros or cons there?
Well, I think there's a lot of pros there. More or less on the aluminum boats than the fiberglass boats. There's some product coming out on the market that works with your fiberglass boat also, that doesn't scar your hull up, that doesn't scuff your gel coat, things like that. But the plastic bunk wrap with the pontoons and, the aluminum deep V's or aluminum crappie boats or bass boats, those are perfect for that application. It also helps on invasive species. I don't know if you guys are big on that topic or not, but here in the Midwest, we have issues with zebra mussels, things like that.
Yep.
And it allows you to rinse your bunks off. It allows you to get any type of invasive species out of your bunks or out of your carpet or anything, because you don't have to deal with that. And then you get into the sandy areas where there's a lot of sand in the water. Well, that sand gets stuck in your carpet also, and it just works like sandpaper when you load your boat. So I'm excited for a plastic bunk or a composite bunk that works with fiberglass. That's one of the things that we're testing here at Easy Loader, and I feel that we're going to introduce something pretty quick. And
that is a big issue right now. Invasive species all over.
Yep. Transferring stuff from one body of water to the other.
For exactly. Sure. Well, Brandon, I mean, is there anything we missed?
Well, I'm sure there is, but
that'll
the
at least
safety chain, safety
us
cables, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
In the event of an accident, you always want your safety chains not to fail. They're not designed to keep your boat behind your trailer behind your tow vehicle. If it comes off, they're designed to keep it intact until you stop. Just keep that in mind.
Right.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't need those. Just make sure you check those safety chains for rust. And
same with your breakaway cables on your brake actuators. A lot of guys just zip tie them to the safety chains. They're there for a purpose too. If you have something that happens, that's basically your brakes to stop your trailer. So
it makes sense, Brandon.
That's tough to really look at.
Absolutely. Like you said, I'm sure we missed something. We could probably talk about it for hours, especially with your expertise.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate you sharing with our listeners a little bit of tidbit, at least to get them to the launch the first couple of days of the year. You guys make sure and check your trailers. That way you're not, it's safety. I mean, it's a big factor. So Brandon, if folks want to check out Easy Loader, do you guys have a resource that you could point them to find out more information?
Well, we do. We have a website, and it's www.easyloader.com. If you go to our website, you can direct to our adjustable division or our custom division. And we also have an e-store where we sell OEM specified or OEM approved parts for all the trailers that we produce. So if you want a genuine Easy Loader axle or hub or tire or wheel or light or anything, it's all available online.
Very cool, Brandon. And one of the big things I learned from you, man, is that y'all are building trailers for the activity at hand. And I would imagine that same thought process needs to go into, if you're thinking about replacing a trailer or you're thinking about buying a new trailer, whatever it may be, you need to really think about what it is you're wanting to do. Are you going to be in a marine environment, a freshwater environment, the type of boat, the type of hull, like you said, aluminum versus fiberglass? There's a lot of different things that would point somebody to one type of trailer configuration versus another type. And just heading over to y'all's website would be a great way to do that. Thanks for joining us, man. It's been good, and it's a great reminder every year that y'all get out there and check out your trailers.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to be with you guys, and I'd like to come back and talk to you again.
Good stuff right there, Butch. Not a sexy topic, but it gets real sexy whenever you're stranded on the side of the interstate.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's not something that, whenever you're getting geared up for boating season, you're getting all your fishing tackle ready, you're tying knots, you're getting all your fancy lures and stuff set up, and I need to go look at my trailer.
Right. Yeah.
But as you know from personal experience, it's very necessary.
Yeah, for sure. What'd you take from it? What was your big takeaway? Did you learn anything?
Yeah, man, there was a couple of things. I think what mostly stuck out to me was to watch out for backing down on the ramp. Like if you're trailering for a long ways, you have those hubs and bearings hot. Thought it was interesting that Brandon was saying that if they're too hot, when you back it down, it creates a vacuum and it can suck water into your grease. I want no watery grease.
I don't know that I'm going to be chilling out at the ramp waiting for my hubs to cool down, but it's a good reminder that to grease them up when you get home, as opposed to
get home, repack them and make sure they're ready to roll.
I don't do that. I always grease them like before I'm getting ready to go, and that if the water's in there and it's just sitting in there, that's how you get rust. That's how you get corrosion. That's how you're going to have a bearing failure. So
how about you? What you learned?
Man, I love that tip about looking for grease, looking for it. Really, I've seen it all over the place. I've seen it like slung up on the hull of the boat even. And I was like, dang, I must have ran over something on the road that was tar or something like that. I didn't think that it was actually maybe a seal that had gone bad.
Or going bad.
Or going bad. So,
I've definitely seen the little star shapes he was talking about with the slinging grease on the wheel, on the inside of the wheel, or I guess not the inside of the trailer wheel, but the outside, under the hubs and all that. So gotta be looking out for it. Keep your eyes open.
Yeah. Packing hubs is not repacking bearings is not a lot of fun. It's a dirty job. Checking some of this stuff out, troubleshooting some of this stuff can be tough. Like, especially you start getting into electrical stuff, you're like,
it's not really my forte.
And people are busy, so my thing is get your trailer into somebody before the season, let them do a quick run through. It's not a bad idea to just go ahead and repack everything every year. It's not a tremendous expense, and go ahead and get it done. And then it's peace of mind.
Yep, for sure, man. Whenever I trailered my 21 Mako, I think it was around 980 miles from Virginia to here. I strapped that thing down, and yeah, you're right. I checked out a local trailer place that was well respected, had some good reviews, and I just took it in. I said, hey, listen, I'm trailering this thing 1,000 miles. I said, make it brand new.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And, if y'all are looking for someone locally to do this for you, definitely go check out Boaters List. They're one of the show's sponsors. That's what they're there for. They're there to connect you with these service providers that are out there in the marketplace. And, there's tons of people that do this kind of stuff that they don't have a business website. They're not listed, when you search Google, but they do great work. I mean, we've got folks that come and, work on our engines that just come right there to the house, work on it in the slip. And they're just a single service provider. Maybe it's something they moonlight and do, but they do great work. So that's Boaters List and what they're really trying to do. They're trying to give, be that marketing platform for those mom and pop type of businesses, but also, your bigger businesses. So if you're looking for somebody to run through your trailer and get you up to speed for this season, go check out Boaters List, and you can find, all your local trailer repair folks there. And if you're a trailer repair person, get with Boaters List. It's free to list your business on there. And if you do this kind of work, let them know. It doesn't cost you a thing. Get on there and check it out.
Well, that was another awesome report, and it was brought to you by MB Ranch King. MB Ranch King hunting blinds and feeders are built to last right here in the USA. With durability and convenience in mind, MB Ranch King's maintenance-free blinds are constructed with high-grade steel and come in a variety of sizes to meet any hunter's needs. They offer high-quality, easy-to-use corn and protein feeders that can be filled with both feet on the ground. Call Kevin today for more info or a quote at 205-807-2937. MB Ranch King, built in the pursuit of perfection. And also brought to you by Advanced Transmission. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com. All right, folks, let's head on down and get our inshore report for this week. Let's talk to Marshall of the Mississippi Sound, the man, the myth, the legend. What you say, Captain Bobby? How we doing today, buddy?
Man, you cannot believe how much of that has stuck right there, the Marshall part. I mean, it's like, hey, he calls out, is this the Marshall? Oh, man, you got to be kidding me.
Yes, it is.
But we got some listeners, man. I'm telling you.
Oh, man, it's crazy how this thing's growing. It's been really, really fun. We appreciate you guys. It's all y'all's show for sure.
Well, we couldn't do it without y'all and vice versa, and the listeners for sure, and the sponsors, absolutely for sure, the sponsors,
Yep, that's the fact, man. Well, I know you guys had the last bog this past weekend. Give us a rundown of that.
Well, first of all, congratulations to the bog champions, James Montalvo and Brandon Mosley.
Absolutely,
and,
that's a pretty prized trophy there.
Woo! I'm telling you, prized is the word. Not to mention the size of the trophy, but just prized because you're talking about. I don't know. I think that when the thing starts, it's probably 30 plus teams of some really, really, really good artificial bait trout fishermen, and to finish on top is quite an accomplishment. I can tell you that it's something to be proud of. I can tell you.
Yeah, for sure. Congrats to those guys.
And then the winners of the tournament, the individual tournament, was Jonas Alexander and Clay Dean, and they're grinders too. And those guys they've won several tournaments, so it was nothing new to them. Those guys they're always there, and so congratulations to those guys and everybody that if you did well in any of the tournaments of those deals, because those guys are fishing anything, weather-wise, it doesn't matter. And, everybody has to fish on the same day with all artificial bait and under the same rules, leaving at the same time, coming in at the same time. And, so everybody's on a level playing field. And, and when you finally come out on top, whether it be an individual tournament or the championship, you have really accomplished something.
Yep, definitely quite the competitive field, like you're saying. It's the best of the best around here. So definitely congrats to all those teams. Well, Sunday was the day y'all did the bog this week. It's a little bit windy. Just kind of walk us through your conditions and what you guys were seeing whenever y'all were fishing, and the kind of whereabouts y'all were fishing, and what did you pick up on? What's happening right now out there?
Well, we're kind of at the, both tournament wise and guiding wise, kind of at the end of this winter time, going into this kind of funky transitional period. That's a real tricky time of the year to fish, and we ended up deciding on some kind of a wintertime pattern, some fish we caught. Rich and I both caught a couple pretty good fish, and we decided to stay with this wintertime deal. It was a jig deal on some ledges, and we caught fish, and I think some of the teams, but actually most of the teams, sounded like they pretty much did the same thing, because on Saturday we hit that super, super low water event, and I think that pulled a lot of fish off those transitional flats. that they were on prior to, I mean, it was like Thursday, I think I fished in shorts, you know, and then Saturday it blew 40 knots and got to 29 Saturday night. And so we decided to go that way. And from what I'm gathering, just what little bit I've heard and whatever the guys in the tournament, that's kind of the deal they went with. And, you know, and that's what worked. Now, I just finished a charter today and Monday, and both days we caught fish in, you know, 2 to 4 feet of water and, you know, back up on popping corks and, you know, and caught, I mean, I don't even know how many fish we caught today. It was crazy numbers wise good. And it was just classic springtime fishing. You'd find in these little spawning schools and, you know, drifting along to see some sign of fish, whether it be a slick or something like that, and just get upwind from them and cast into them. And I was just living on the power poles today because I was up in, like I said, in fairly shallow water. So I'd hit the power poles and we just catch, I don't know how many fish. Sometimes we'd stop, it'd be double-digit fish, and then move a little bit more and catch some more. And what's interesting about these spawning schools is you catch such a wide variety of sizes of fish. I mean, you literally catch fish from 8 inches to 22 inches on the same school, and that's just spawning schools of fish. And they're gathered up there. The big females are doing their thing, and the little males are trying to get in there and help and do that sort of thing. So I love this time of year, man. Well, I love it all, but I mean, this is a fun time of year because it's a lot of action, a lot of, I call it gorilla fishing, not gorilla as in the ape, but like as a gorilla in the fighter, to where you're constantly staying on the move, you know, and I love that kind of fishing. Anyway, and I love it. Well, some of the stuff we caught today and not yesterday, but Monday, in last week, leading up to the tournament, were stuff that I haven't fished yet this year. That's the way this fishing is this time of year, to where you're looking for signs and you're fishing fish that aren't pressured, fish that ain't getting pounded all winter. These are fish that are out here roaming around, chasing with a little bit of baits out there, and they're really willing to bite when you find them, you know. So I just love the action that you get on these type of things. So that's kind of sums it up, you know, at least as far as like the tournament fishing and the guide fishing that I've done probably since I talked to you last. And it's going to continue to go that way. I don't think there's any kind of real big cold forecast, you know, cold weather forecast, super cold weather, change anything like that. We're going to get some upstate runoff, local runoff too. I know some of the creeks that we fished in front of today had some tannicky water coming out of them. That was all from that rain that we had locally yesterday, which was Tuesday. And that doesn't hurt anything. That water looks ugly, but it's still salty and the fish are still in it, you know, so you're going to be able to fish that. But, you know, as far as that goes, unless we get something really, really dramatic to happen, which can happen here on the coast. Oh, yeah. But if it doesn't, everything's going to stay the same for probably the next several weeks anyway, until we start to move towards more towards that summertime deal.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like, I mean, we're here middle of March. I mean, that's pretty much all the winter we get here in Alabama. I think it might be here.
That's exactly right. And that's generally the area. It's about mid-March is when you start to look at this true spring transition, you know, and it'll continue to go that way. The big thing you'd have to keep an eye on now is, you know, how much rain we get upstate. Not locally. Locally doesn't really mess anything up, but how much rain we get upstate. That's going to be the big key as far as trout goes, and where they're going to be and where you're going to be able to find those is how much runoff we get down through the bay and out of the mouth of the bay. You know, as far as redfish goes, there's nothing new about that. That deal never changes. I mean, they're not affected by water temperature, not too much affected by fresh water. They're pretty much going to feed wherever they can find some bait. When you get these low water events, I think like we had on Saturday, these low water events, and even the tide this morning when we left was really low, but I think that pulls them out of the marsh. They really gather up at the mouths of little creeks and points and things like that when the water gets so low versus when it gets real high. And those things are like little pigs. They swim around down that grass and everything else. But when there's no water there, they can't get to it. So it's almost like they're staging at the mouth of those little creeks. And we did that today when we finished up. I said, man, let's check a couple of these little creeks on the way in. And sure enough, that's where they were, man. You know, anything from 16-inch reds to, we had one bull red that smoked one of the guys, and we ended up losing it. But, you know, anyway, most of those are going to be like 16 to 22 or 24-inch reds, but it's a fun way to get some action in the trip, and certainly a fun way for us to finish up today.
Oh, yeah, for sure. A tug is the drug. Those things are always fun to pull on.
Pug is the drug. I like that, man.
Always fun to pull on. Well, man, we're talking about transition periods a little bit here. I know you mentioned, the fish seem to be moving up into those, 2 to 4 foot flats, obviously relative to where you're fishing around. But you think it's over with in the rivers? I mean, the water temperatures, or what are you guys seeing? I mean, you think these fish are pretty much in the full transition?
I don't know if I'd call it over with, Butch. I don't know if I'd call it over with, meaning that you probably still could go in there and catch some fish. Particularly rivers like Dog fishes more like a flat than it does a true river. You take a place like Dog River, maybe like an area, and this isn't really a river, but you take a place like the Daphne Pilings area and some of those areas that are flats on the edges of the rivers. I'm doing air quotes here. Some of those places are probably still hold fish for a while. It's some of those places. I think sometimes you get fish that are trapped in there that would normally be pushing out into the bay that can't when you start getting river levels at Berry Steam Plant over 7 feet or 8 or 9 feet. They're not going to go out in that bay. So I don't think it would, to answer your question, I don't think it's over. I think if you wanted to do that kind of fishing, you certainly could go in there and catch some fish. My mindset is to go where I got the best chance of catching fish, and that's the kind of stuff I'm doing. And I know down in the Sound, the water, unless it just absolutely goes nuts, which it did a few years ago, where Berry Steam Plant got up to 17 feet, that water's going to stay clear down there. I don't care what happens in the bay until it gets up to levels like that. All that stuff's going to stay clear. So that's the way I go, and a lot of times this time of year, you're getting kind of a northerly component to the wind or an easterly component to the wind. And that keeps that whole area just very, very fishable. So I like going down there. And again, kind of going back to what I was talking about a little while ago, the amount of action you get when you start, those are the kind of areas that I like fishing, those spawning fish. And that just always happens every year where you're hitting those kind of things. I just totally dig that action. It's just, I really can't get enough of it. And I, just love watching the people catching fish like that fast, just throwing in any direction, catching fish. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. And the size gets better as the spring goes on. We went through a lot of fish today to get, the fish that we wanted to keep. And, but, like I tell my guys, I'm going like, look, as long as they're not eating my 35-cent live shrimp, I don't have a problem going through some fish.
That was going to be my next question, actually.
Good with this, I ain't going to feed 35-cent live shrimp to them, you know what I'm saying? But I'll sit there and catch 50 fish or 30 fish or whatever on an artificial bait and get the fish I need, keeper size fish, as long as they're not, now if I'm using live bait, which I don't this time of year, there's no way I'm going to sit on one of those kind of schools. You'd be out of bait. One of the other guys was at the dock when we were waiting on our charters, and he went and got live bait. And I said, how quick do you run out of bait right now? He said, man, quick. And that way I can get in, So I'm going like, I just can't do that. So yeah. I'm leaving that guy nameless, but
of course, yeah.
You would literally run out of bait in no time.
I've seen some of those schools. Yeah, no doubt. I just didn't. That was going to be my next question. Actually, I know how you feel about drowning 35-cent shrimp, but I was going to say if you were using those for like searching bait, and then once you find the schools, you switch over to imitation. But it sounds like you're just not there quite to buying bait yet.
Yeah, you don't even need to. And I'm not even sure you can buy. I'm not sure I guess they have some bait in some of the places. I just haven't checked. And you just don't even need it. You're really almost when you're, like I was just talking about, where you're really more looking for fish and fishing stuff that, today was great. Tomorrow it may be a dry hole and you have to make, half mile or quarter mile to the north or whatever, and find some more fish. You're really better off with artificial bait, as opposed to the other way around.
You spend a lot more time in the water.
Yeah, exactly. And then if you think about it, when you're making a cast with a live shrimp, because think about, we're talking about, drifting with popping corks and stuff. You're throwing a live shrimp out there. After 2 casts, that shrimp's pretty well had. You're fishing with a dead shrimp then, Now, if you're on a hot school and you throw it out there, cork's never going to stop with a live shrimp, but you don't need it at that point. So, that's the reason I just don't use it this time of year. If I can get it very easily, I might get some, or if somebody finishes up and goes, hey man, you got a trip tomorrow, I got 50 shrimp left, I'll take them then, but I'm not going to go spend the money on them when I don't need them right now. Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm not even sure, how hard it is or where you can even get them right now. I'm sure there's probably somebody listening that could probably fill you in on that, but anyway, and it'll stay that way for a little while for me. I'll eventually, start getting bait and using it some in the mixed bag of it. And then usually by the summertime, we're way more towards the live bait. But right now, man, I don't want to say how you could do any better than what we've been doing.
No doubt.
just using artificial bait. And I don't care who.
Put it off
I've
as long as you
I had
can.
a lady. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you don't have any choice because
Right.
you can't
That's
get
what
it.
I mean.
But, I mean, and I get the other thing I get is like, well, there's no way my people can catch fish with art. I had a lady that didn't know which end of the rod to hold the other day. I swear to God, Thursday, and it happens all the time. I had to show her how to hold the reel, make the cast. And in 10 minutes, she's out there catching, by the end of the day, she was out catching everybody, so people go like, well, you got to have bait because I have an inexperienced crew. Maybe so if you're fishing some structure, but the way you're doing it right now, when you find the fish, anybody can catch them.
Right.
So anyway, I'm not a bait snob. You know that. I'll use bait just like the next guy will, but I just don't think it's necessary right now.
Right. And like you're saying, put it off as long as you can if you don't need it.
Yeah, that's right. It's definitely not for me right now, So.
Right. Well, good. Well, not everybody has your level of expertise either. You know what I mean?
Oh, we don't know about all that.
Well, man, that's a great report.
Obviously, the two guys that whipped our butt in the championship did. So,
right. I don't know what to say about that, man. Good, healthy competition's good for everyone. You'll get them next year, right?
Yep, that's exactly right. We'll give them a whirl next year.
That. That's right. Well, man, I looked at the forecast earlier. You're talking about some upstate rain. It looks like we're going to get some local stuff on Friday, and it looks like we're also going to get some stuff up, like pretty much the whole state, as far as I could tell what I was looking at. So going into this weekend, do you have any tips for our listeners? What are you going to be paying attention to, and what are you going to be looking at, like for your trip Saturday, Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Friday, I would probably take off. I'm taking
do some honeydews on Friday.
Not even going to be that's not even going to be it's not even an option. The guy, I talked to the guy a little while ago that I had Friday, and the guy goes, we look at it tomorrow, so we can, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be the same answer because it ain't going to get nobody. When they start talking 20, 25, and 100% chance of rain, it ain't going to change enough in the day to do. So Friday be a good day to maybe go through that tackle box and, go from that wintertime jig fishing stuff maybe you had in there and start getting your voodoos and your top waters ready, your shallow water stuff ready. And then by Saturday and Sunday, I think it's going to be fine. We're going to go into the full moon nip, but that tide thing doesn't bother me at all with this type of fishing. I want a little bit of wind and some not super clear water. And so I would say, do just what we've been talking about. Get over there, and if it's out of the north, stay over on the sound side. If it's out of the south, probably move down towards the island, stay in the sound, not have to worry too much about water clarity, with whichever direction of there you went there. And then if you can get that bait, and you don't have to be live, but if it gets calm enough, man, I know that they're mashing those sheephead out there. And
it's that time.
Yeah, it's that time of year. So there's a lot of options to do, white trout and that sort of thing, some of those close-in rigs mixed in with those sheephead. And, that's a fun thing to do. So a lot of options, man. A lot of options to do this weekend, I think.
Yep, definitely. That's definitely sheep time. Definitely fun to catch, and they're also delicious to eat. So that's a great option too. I wasn't even thinking sheep's head, but that's a great tip.
I just got to have a real good friend like you that will clean them for me.
That's right. I don't mind cleaning them. I've cleaned plenty for sure. Bring them on over here. I'll only take one or two for my feet.
That's right. So I always tell people when they catch one, they go like, "What's the limit on this? What's the limit on sheep?" And that's on this boat, it's one.
That's right. That's right.
I don't care what the state says. On this boat, it's one.
Yep, as many as I can clean. Right.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Kevin, Bobby, man, that's a great report. That's a great tip about the sheep's head this weekend. If folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
A-Team Fishing is our website. It has our phone number on there, and it has a contact us form on there that you can fill out and let us know when you want to go or ask us to pick dates, and we can do that sort of thing too. So just call us the old-fashioned way with the phone number or hit us on the email.
Awesome, buddy. We always enjoy hearing from you. We look forward to hearing from you next time, man. Be safe out there.
Thanks, old buddy.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. You'll take a minute to check out a few more of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Test Calibration. If your diesel has low power or is consuming excessive amounts of fuel, these are common signs that your turbocharger may need to be rebuilt. Don't waste your money online with the cheapest options where you get no support after the sale. Test Calibration has been selling and servicing diesel, turbochargers, and fuel injection systems since 1976. No matter if you're running a diesel in your boat, tractor, or truck, Test Calibration can help you. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibrationdieselandturbo.com. And also brought to you by Bucks Island. They have new pontoon boats, bass boats, bow riders, and aluminum boats for sale. They provide boat service on all kinds of boats, even if they weren't purchased from Bucks. Visit them at 4500 Highway 77 in Southside, Alabama, or give them a call at 256-442-2588. All right, guys. In lieu of an offshore report today, we're going to talk to Thomas Hilton and my partner over at Northwest Florida Fishing Report for an offshore snapshot. Let's see what Mr. Tom Hilton's up to.
I look forward to our next report every month because we're going to go talk with Thomas Hilton over at Hilton's Real-Time Navigator and get an offshore snapshot. It's really helpful to do these types of offshore reports after we've had a big front move through like we did last week. You know, a lot of guys are unable to get out on the water.
Man, it was a crazy wind. It's crazy rough wind.
Downright dangerous conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but a lot of times those big winds can mix things up out there, and this is the perfect time to use a service like Hilton's Real-Time Navigator and really learn where this fishy water is out there so you don't waste a bunch of fuel. And that's becoming...
If you can find a window, be as precise as possible. I agree with you.
I mean, and with fuel prices where they are now, golly, one trip can more than pay for what it costs to have a service like Hilton. So let's go check in with Tom Hilton and see what's going on offshore. Tom, welcome back to the Fishing Report, man. Tell us what's happening in the Northern Gulf. Did this big front we have mix things up at all? There's still some fishy water out there?
Yeah. Hey, Joe. How y'all doing? It's good to be back. Everything is starting to fall into place. This time of the year, everybody's anxious to get back out there, and the proximity of the loop current and these warm core eddies just pushing this warmer, clearer water north and up through the rigs is really helping to bring the pelagics closer in. You were talking a while back about people catching blackfin tuna off of the pier there. I guess what was it, Navarre?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I took a quick look at that, and the warm and the warm blue water had come right up to the beach, and the fish were in that pot of water.
Yeah, it's really cool to be able to go back and analyze catches. We've talked a lot about that on here about, being able to go in and say, okay, I caught a fish here. Why did I catch it here?
Kind of reverse engineer your trip.
Yeah, it's really neat to hear you say
exactly.
That, you were able to basically see why those fish were there. And if you can remember those conditions and then have a way to get these shots, almost like if there was a service for it or something, you could
right.
You could use that in the future to help you find these pelagics out on the beaches, and they do move in close enough to catch them with, they were catching them with kayaks every single day,
Oh yeah.
And really nice
pier.
Fish too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big old blackfin.
You mentioned that some of the rigs are in good water or have been in good water. We've talked about that a lot. It's not always about what's in good water currently. It's about what rigs have been in good water and are now going to hold some predatory fish. So if we're looking out there and maybe thinking about this weekend, looking for a weather window to hit, what are some of the rigs that are the floaters that are going to hopefully produce right now?
Well, it looks like Appomattox is very well positioned. It's in about 75-degree water.
Wow.
So you're really right on the cusp here of some really good fishing, breaking out on us here.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Last week we were talking with Adam Peoples, and he was sharing with us that he's starting to see some really good temp breaks, and in his mind it's time for him to always have the Wahoo gear on board. When he sees those big temp breaks, that's when he really starts thinking Wahoo and fishes those areas hard. Are you seeing some breaks like that in different spots? And I asked the same question to Adam, and I'll ask you. What do you look for? What do you consider is a true break? Is it a half a degree, a degree? Do you need more than that to get excited?
No, sometimes it's small as a half a degree. It's showing your current edge, and that's where things are collecting, or your flotsam and bait. Sometimes it's just very, very subtle stuff. You're not always going to be looking out there and finding a 4-degree break, with a very sharp edge on it. And you just have to take what Mother Nature's giving you, Mother Gulf. And finding those edges, that's really, I call it the buffet line. That's what the pelagics cruise, and they're feasting on these the bait up and down these temp breaks and color changes.
You're talking about the Appomattox being in some pretty good water. That's within reach of just about anybody that's going out there to fish, no matter if they're leaving out of Louisiana or leaving out of Panama City or Destin. But for the guys over in Northwest Florida that are fishing out of Pensacola, Destin, Panama City, they also have the fads that are out there. Is there any good water around those fads, or has there been any good water around them?
There's some nice warm blue water that's streaking into the fads area. It's mixed in with some mixed color blue-green water, but it's looking good. I mean, let's look for any kind of organization on your edges, and look for, if you're looking for wahoo, and the fads are always very consistent for holding all different kinds of sport fish out there. So that'd be a good place to start.
Very nice. Yeah, that's just a chip shot out of there for you guys, isn't it, Joe? It's not very far off from Destin to Panama City. What, 40, 45 miles?
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact nautical miles, but it is close enough, definitely for a day trip. Very cool thing that they're doing over there, too, by the way. Just a awesome resource to have that and kind of take a vast Gulf and give you at least something to focus on. And Tom, that's something we've talked about a lot on here, too. Like, I love your analogy. I always go back to it of building a poker hand with conditions, and maybe a structure is a high card, and then a structure in good altimetry is a pair, or maybe even three of a kind in a way. But if you were going to order, say, the best to the most influential to the least influential, do you think structure is that key point to pay attention to, and then start to build in the conditions around structures? Or, does it depend? What do you think about that?
Absolutely. Structure holds bait. And whether you're talking about a buoy or a tent break, a weed line, the shelf, those are all types of structures where you'll find food, especially when currents are like hitting the shelf at a 90-degree angle, and it creates these natural upwellings, and it kind of discombobulates the bait. It's really good to know where that type of thing is happening. Or let's say where you have a surface structure like a tent break, weed line, crossing over the shelf. So those intersection points are always of interest, because there's fish that are following the surface structure, and there's fish that are following the shelf, the bottom structure. And so those intersection points are areas where you have a bell curve of fish. You have a higher concentration, and your chances of success go up. So anytime that you can combine structure with optimal conditions, like let's say if you're wahoo fishing, and wahoo are very much like king mackerel in that they'll take up position on structure like rocks, ledges, and wrecks. And you get these backflow eddies where you're bringing this warmer, bluer water washing in over these structures. Then anything that's inside of that, any structure that's inside of that plume is game on. And then a lot of times these backflows will also create their own edges. And so it really opens up your opportunities, your options, when you're seeing these types of scenarios develop. So you can hit the structures inside the plume, you head out to the edge of the plume and see if you can find a weed line, so forth.
It's all very fascinating stuff to me, and it gets me excited too, just thinking about kind of hunting in a way, ruling out water in the Gulf. But then, man, if you've got a rip that's crossing the shelf, or a rip that's in the vicinity, or has passed over a floater or a fad or something like that, that just gives you the excitement to get out there and see what's there and see what's hanging around. And man, that's just some of my favorite kind of fishing. When it comes to the shots that you're using, though, to get this imagery, how real time is it, Tom? If I'm getting up in the morning and I'm heading out and I grab the shots off Real Time Navigator, when were they taken?
Well, there's always a time lag from the time the shot was taken and when it's available to the public. So, and it also depends on the type of imagery. Your most prolific shots are your sea surface temperature shots, where we probably get upwards of 35 to 40 shots a day with our two portals. And so you just have to, when you're looking at the archives, you can see when those shots were taken, and then you'll just, usually it's about 2 or 3 hours after the shot was taken before it pulls up on the server.
So if we're doing a day trip to the fads, like what Butch is talking about, if we're doing that day trip, we're going to have no problem jumping on Hilton's the night before, the morning of, and checking out, getting a good clean shot, and seeing what's going on. We do a good bit of overnight trips and fishing 2 and 3 day trips. And a lot of the guys fishing tournaments, they're leaving the dock and not coming back for 5 days in some cases. If somebody wants to get a real-time shot while they're out on the water, maybe they're on their second morning and they've been out, are there options for them to be able to get Hilton's, out there on the water?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the technology's, been really improving, and the pricing has been coming down over the last few years. So, especially when you consider the cost of just your basic standard center console boat is $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Some
That's
of them
just
over
to play
$1
the
million.
game too. That's not even decked out in a lot. I mean,
Right.
Like say it, you're still getting wet when it rains at 200 grand.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
But you can get there quick, and there's advantages to them. And so I probably told you I went to Australia 2.5 years ago, and I knew the boat. We were on an 8-day trip out to the Raleigh Shoals on the northwest corner of the continent, and it's 180 miles off the beach. And I knew the boat didn't have any satellites, so I brought my own SATCOM Wi-Fi system in my luggage with me, and so I was able to set it up and Wi-Fi through my iPad up through the router, through the satellite system, and bring it down into my iPad and navigate on it. And that's in the middle of the Indian Ocean. We were like 600 miles south of Bali,
wow.
Indonesia. And I was able to call my wife and talk to her just like I'm talking to you guys. And that whole system is less than $3,000. So any center console boat, really, if they're spending the night often out there, if you're just doing day trips where you leave the dock that morning, you go fish, you come back to the dock that evening, you really don't need to have quote unquote real time up to the second access to the data. So whatever you leave the dock with that morning is more than sufficient to get you through that day. A lot of the imageries are like chlorophyll. For instance, I don't care what service you're using, the latest shot is from last night. So even if I'm out on the water right now and I'm going to try to pull down quote unquote real-time data, it's really not real-time. It's from last night. That's just the way the cookie crumbles with what we got. We're just working with what the satellites are downloading to us. And so your most, timely imagery, again, is your sea temps. You can also identify which, if you look at your sea temps versus, say, a chlorophyll shot that were taken at approximately the same time, then you can identify which color changes are associated with which temp breaks. And then you can track your color using your sea temps because you get so many more generations of shots. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so
It
you're kind
does.
of using 2 different tools to see how it's moving. And I mean, like you
Right.
said too, though,
Right.
I mean, if you're talking about to be able to get this technology on the water, you're talking about somewhere between, $500 to $3,000 on the highest end. I mean, that's like 1 tank of fuel in a lot of cases on these boats. I mean, you think about how much time, Butch, we spent and wasted looking for fish on these 2 and 3 day trips.
A lot of wandering, Cat.
It would not take long for that to make sense. Just
No
in
doubt.
fuel
Right.
savings alone, especially I saw $6 a gallon on over the road diesel the other day. I can't imagine what marine diesel and those kind of things are costing,
I know.
So
Yep.
never been a better time to look into a way to save fuel for sure.
Amen.
But
You got that right.
yeah, well, man, that's good. I'm glad to hear that there's some good water out there. I'm glad to hear there's some opportunities for folks if they're thinking about heading offshore. And it's really cool to see you just continuing to innovate and be able to bring this right onto people's Garmin multifunction display if they want it. Really being able to get this out on the water if they're in the market for something like that. If somebody wants to talk to you and really learn the ins and outs of Real-Time Navigator, or ask you some specifics on getting this technology when they're on the water and really getting it as real time as they can be. What's the best way for them to reach out to you, Tom, and check out Hilton's Real-Time Navigator for themselves?
Yeah, the website is hiltonsoffshore.com. And we also use rt-nav.com. It goes to the same spot. It's just a lot shorter for me to type. That's what I put on my email, hilton@rt-nav.com. But yeah, we've developed a new onboard computer system that you can plug and play into your Garmin touchscreen, like an 8600 series, Marine displays. I'm still talking with Simrad, and it's fairly economical, depending on which version you use. But we have a $500 unit that you just, takes you 5 minutes. You're plugging and playing in, and you plug it in, and you're surfing Hiltons on your Garmin. You're tweaking your C-temp shots, saving them as custom shots, which automatically save into the system. Then once you're done with the internet, you just exit out of the internet portal, and now you just have your navigation screen. So you have all your shots that are saved into the system, and you can pull up, let's say, a chlorophyll shot and click on the color change, and you're navigating to that dynamic structure. And outside of cell range, you don't need cell service or internet access at that point. And we have a more expensive unit that's around $2,500 that does the same thing, except it also provides the ability to bring in video footage from, there's a company called Surf Vision HD that we're working with out of Puerto Rico, and they put video cameras out on the outriggers. And then when you have something that comes into the spread, you can hit record, and it starts recording into the system. So then you can play it back on your Garmin screen, so you can surf the net, navigate, and view videos all on the same, all on your existing chart plotter.
And then we can see when Butch misses that blue marlin bite. Yeah,
I need that. I don't miss a blue marlin. You can know that. You know that already.
Butch, let me ask you something. With all this technology advancement, at what point are you no longer going to have excuses for not catching fish?
I always catch fish. I don't make excuses.
Tom, it's getting deep over here now, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm staying out of this one, boy.
Well, Tom, man, I always enjoy having you on and getting that snapshot. We try to do it once a month or so and find out what's going offshore. But, the real beauty of this is that you could get it every day. If you're doing this kind of fishing and you want to save a lot of money on fuel, y'all definitely go check out Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. Really cool stuff. And I love that, you pick up the phone, Tom, when folks call and they've got questions, and you can walk them through everything they want to know, questions they've got, and how they can use the interface, because there are definitely guys that are using this to its maximum to point them in the right direction and just frankly just catch more fish. It's really cool stuff. Right. Love talking with you about it. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom. Talk soon.
Butch, it's pretty crazy to think you can just get a satellite image shot to your boat in the middle of the Gulf, or sounds like in the middle of any ocean.
Based on what say in the middle of Australia and south of Bali.
Yeah, and then be able to pinpoint fishy spots out there. There's so much technology out there. It's
crazy, man. Like we talk about all the time. It almost overwhelms things. You don't even know where to begin. But golly, like Mr. Tom was talking about, just the price of admission today to play things are so expensive. So why not optimize all of your chances? If you have, if this $500 unit gives you an edge up on the competition, I'm gonna get it. You got to.
Well, look at it that way. But like I was saying earlier, that $500 unit gives you the ability to save easily $500 in fuel.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Hours and hours and hours.
And hours and hours and hours staring at the water.
Yeah.
Not
taking off sargassum off the trolling lines.
Right. I know you're used to that and doesn't bother you apparently.
Right. What's that? Taking sargassum off the lines or not catching anything?
Yes.
Both. Definitely done my share of grass pulling, Hoss. I can tell you that.
All right, man. I'm going to go wrap up this report. Enjoyed it.
All right, buddy. Sounds good. I'm going to get mine as well. Talk to you later. All right. Even though I'm flying solo today, we still have to do what did you learn? I think that definitely what I picked up this week is it was nice having a new contributor, Perdido Blaine. I feel like he did a great job explaining what he was doing very well. I picked up from him, he said he was fishing on the beach some and on the backwater. He was doing some kayaking and he noticed how spooky that the speckled trout had been being. So he applied that to his surf fishing by scaling down, using that lighter fluorocarbon and being more discreet because of the spooky fish that he saw elsewhere, over on the back bay. He saw the speckled trout acting that way. So he applied it to a different fishery over on the beach, and it paid off for him. So that definitely stuck out to me. You got to pay attention. We talk about that all the time on here. Pay attention to what you're doing while you're doing it, and it'll open up opportunities, just like Blaine was saying. All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. Let's take a quick break. Check out a few more of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by National Land Realty.
If you're in the market to sell your land, check out the fastest growing, most innovative land brokerage in the country. In 2019, we sold over 109,000 acres of land, totaling nearly $500 million. That's $1 billion in sales. With the largest online presence in the industry, the bottom line is when you market your land through National Land Realty, the right buyers will know your land is for sale. Contact your Emerald Coast National Land agent. That's me, Joe Baya, at jbaya@nationalland.com, or call me at 850-296-7098.
All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up this week. You guys, please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. We'll talk to y'all next week. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by United Bank. United Bank supports our farmers with financial products and services designed specifically for agribusiness. United Bank is building stronger communities every day. All loans subject to credit approval. Equal housing opportunity lender, member FDIC. Also brought to you by Foster Contracting, Fortified Roofing Pros. Did you know you could save up to 40% on your homeowner's insurance with a fortified roof? Learn more at fortifiedroofingpros.com or call them at 251-973-9999. Also brought to you by Coastal Conservation Association of Alabama. Check them out at CCAAlabama.org.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report brought to you by me, Angelo DePaola, The Coastal Connection. Find us online at thecoastalconnection.com.
And also brought to you by Ricciardone Family Dentistry. Do not let an achy tooth ruin a day on the water. Call today to book an appointment at 251-342-6672. And also brought to you by Sam's Stop and Shop. Sam's Stop and Shop is your one-stop shop located at 27122 Canal Road in Orange Beach. Sam's has a little bit of everything, including a deli, inshore, offshore, and surf fishing tackle. They also have bait, clothing, groceries, name brand sunglasses, and so much more. Stop by and shop or call them at 251-981-4245 today. And also by KillerDock. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit killerdock.com to see more. And also Photonis Defense PD Pro Ultralight Ultra Compact Night Vision Systems. Simply the best in-class night vision systems ever built. Contact them at photonisdefense.com to learn more. And also brought to you by Admiral Oysters. Admiral oysters are available by the dozen at Bon Secours Fisheries, Inc. in Bon Secours, Alabama. From a simple, nutrient-dense appetizer at home or a shucking party with friends, Admiral oysters will steal the show. Call 251-949-7411 for pricing and availability. And also brought to you by L&M Marine. L&M Marine has something for everyone, from small hunting boats, pontoons, as well as bigger bay hybrid boats for the hardcore angler. Go visit them at 34600 Highway 59 in Stapleton, Alabama, or call 251-937-1380. And also brought to you by The Hunting Exchange. Hunting Exchange is an app for iOS and Android that gives you a one-stop shop to buy and sell your hunting gear. This secure platform allows you to buy and sell gear with confidence. So head on over to the App Store or Google Play and experience a new hassle-free way to buy and sell hunting gear by downloading the Hunting Exchange app today.